Dom Nicastro here, managing editor of CMSWire with our latest contributor Q&A, and this time it's new in 2022 contributor. Here we go. Ready for the pronunciation. Sonja Keerl. How did I do?
You did brilliantly. That
All
was very
right.
good.
All
Nice to
right.
speak to you again, Dom.
Yeah, you too. VP product marketing at Constructor, a new role for you. But what isn't so new is you're the co-founder of the MACH Alliance. And a lot of marketers have heard about that effort, but I would love for you to tell our listeners and viewers a little bit more about the MACH Alliance, what it's up to lately.
Yeah, absolutely. So the MACH Alliance is a little over 2 years old now. We founded it just sort of in that first big pandemic lockdown with the intention to really help enterprise organizations, especially to understand how do you use and leverage modern technology to really propel your digital experiences forward. And that's kind of where the acronym came from. MARC stands for very technical terms, but really at the end of the day, for business listeners, is all about being able to react quickly to change, either in expectations from your customers or market world circumstances like we have seen when we launched the Alliance, and how technology can become an enabler for speed and agility rather than the good old bottleneck that certainly I'm used to from the times when I was running as a practitioner digital experiences.
Yeah, and it's a combination of a lot of vendors too. It's a very rare effort, right? That you don't see a lot of vendors that are competing coming in the same room together. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really interesting journey. We started as a nonprofit organization exactly to that end, and we had 4 founding members and I think 12, like a dozen launching members, which is a beautiful number, isn't it? A
Yes,
dozen
it is.
launching members, um, and from the get-go, we made very clear you will need to sit with the competition. You will need to put the head of we really truly want to help buyers and decision makers and users in enterprise organizations to understand this very different paradigm of doing more agile and cloud headless based experience architectures. And you will never ever receive a lead from the MACH Alliance. And that was interesting. I'm sure you can imagine
Yeah.
telling vendors to please invest into an initiative that's they will not be able to measure directly. Also made sure that we only got those companies aboard, and over 50 now, who are actually interested in helping their audience.
Yeah.
And that was a good kind of pre-qualification of who is suitable to have conversations with the direct competition to. And
Yeah.
it's very civil, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
Surprisingly civil. Yeah.
I'm sure that surprisingly, I'm sure that's a thing you have to address up front, Zonya. You have to say, hey, come into the party, but let me tell you, no leads here. We're not going to get
Absolutely.
leads out of this. It's just going to be a passionate group of technologists. We're behind microservices. And by the way, it's microservices, API first, cloud native, and headless. Did I get that right?
That's right. And then
Boom.
Cloud Native also has the SaaS attached to it, which is
Okay.
really important as a delivery model to have a services element. Yeah, but absolutely. Well done.
Good. All right. So this article, your latest for CMSWire, we're talking about that very important relationship that marketers must have with a technology leader like a CTO, a chief technology officer. Now that can be an intimidating person, right? I mean, they are behind a lot of those decisions with MarTech, mock adoption. So if you're a person that's trying to sell someone like the CTO, the mock adoption and to get behind those terms and those philosophies and those strategies, what role will that CTO play? Like, that's the first thing to know, right? Like, what usually does a technology leader like a CTO play in mock adoption?
Yeah. Let's talk about the CTO first. That role has changed insanely in the last 5 years.
Mm.
When I started, many years ago, let's not put a number on that.
10,
um,
5.
10, I'll take 10.
Okay.
then the CTO was a very serious IT guy, that had a lot of governance and rules and regulations, and things wouldn't move fast, but they would be stable. Boy, I started when we had mainframes.
Yeah.
Did you have that?
Yeah. Well, what my early days of marketing was just which color should we use on the website? It was a big debate, right? Red or blue? What's our call to action button look like? Those are
Do you
the
know
early
that
days there.
that Dilbert comic? Can you make this a little more webby like
Yeah, yeah.
that? Exactly. See, but that was not a friend of marketing people who had great ideas, because he was just very sturdy. CTO now, if you look at the ambassadors that we have in the MACH Alliance, or the wonderful customers of our members that are doing those MACH Alliance podcasts, they have adopted this agile mindset, and they are driven by the growth of the company and the customer experience that the company delivers, right? They're really external facing people now. And that's something that I've time and time again heard business leaders being very surprised about. It's not what they're used to. And I think it takes some opening up and some faith that the role and the persona, so to speak, of the CTO has changed fundamentally. 80% of the ones that we surveyed in the MACH Alliance said the reason why they're changing to MACH architectures is so they can support the business faster, so that it has a direct, impact, direct improvement on the external facing customer experience. Wow. Like
Yeah.
20 years ago, it would have been about security and cost, and it's gone, right? I mean, that's
Right.
important, but it's not the driver anymore for change. So sorry, I went on a tangent. You said we
No,
only
that
have
was
8 minutes.
no. We're not on a timer here. I mean, it's you make some great points, because it's not surprising that CTOs are getting into, maybe it's going to be called customer technology officer one of these days, right?
Oh,
Because I mean, if you think about it, all the stats you see, experience is the brand. That's the most important thing, and we know that as consumers, that experience. When's the last time you went to someone and said, my phone is so cool. Look at all the technology. No, you complain about the customer service you got with
mhm,
that and the disjointed experiences. So it makes perfect sense. Hey, I wanted to ask you,
mhm,
if I'm a marketer in that meeting pitching something technological that is going to change for the company, and they're looking at the
mhm.
CTO, and what's some of those tough, give me one example of a tough question you think a CTO will ask a marketer in that meeting?
Actually, very often it's the other way around. Very
Ah,
often it's the CTO pitching to the business leaders
okay.
that they might need to change. I think were it the other way around, and I've seen a few instances of that, I think one of the questions would be, do you actually, dear CTO, do you actually have the skill set in your team that you can deliver to this new technology? Do you know how to actually compose rather than customize the technology that you will get? How, dear CTO, can you ensure that after we have changed, or whilst we are in the process of going MACH, going composable, that we can also leverage new customer facing innovation, new functionalities, new features faster, so that we get value as quickly as possible? I think that's questions that for the old school CTO might be a little surprising to get, because it puts you on the spot. Can you deliver? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, new world, Sonja Keerl. I'm glad there are people like you out there to be on front of it, in front of this new world and these shifts and how business gets done with marketing and technology. It's definitely a new world. Maybe I'll ask you one final question. Looking down the road, something you're particularly interested in, the rest of 2022, some kind of trends in the space that you're following, and maybe anything coming out of the MACH Alliance. A little sneak peek.
Yeah, what I'm seeing now is we've kind of all in the digital experience space, we've all breathed through the last waves of the pandemic. I now see a lot of the digital teams that were literally just in coping mode, um,
Yeah.
fighting their way through that whole 2 year digital escalation, now going back, um, recapping, taking score, and really looking again at what worked and what didn't. We're seeing a lot of great learnings coming out of that, also from the digital agencies that are in the MACH Alliance, and they are now working that up and really building an educational program that will help both the technology side, but also the business side of the house to really draw some big lessons learned on how do I need to standardize aspects in composable, how do I need to train my teams on both sides and really ensure I get the biggest benefit, which is that continuous innovation and continuous improvement at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I'm happy that you mentioned digital agencies because remember, in the beginning months of the pandemic, there was a lot of, well, geez, the agencies are the ones that are going to suffer. And that was true. I'm glad they're making a comeback, with using their services because they play a big role in this technology scheme in this marketing world we're in. So appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Sonja Keerl, I appreciate you coming on with us, CMSWire, being a contributor. Looking forward to more and more content out of that space of microservices, APIs, cloud, SaaS, and headless. I got it all once again.
You did. Thanks
Yeah,
so much for having me, and thanks for doing the wonderful work you do.
we appreciate it very much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye now.